Good evening, everyone, and welcome into KDKA Studios. This is another round of sound. You know what that means. It's the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown. I'm Bob Pompeani. We have a lot to get into. Like, is Joey Chestnut an athlete or not? We'll also talk about the Pittsburgh Penguins after they had their draft and what this means for this coming season. We will get into the Pirates and what they've done, which is not much this weekend when they were scoreless in Seattle. But the #1 topic tonight on the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown is going to be the Steelers. What was a busy week? Joining us, Will Graves, Associated Press, Ray Fittipaldo from the Post-Gazette, and Chris Mueller from 93.7 The Fan. So I'm going to start with you on this one. First, let's start with the trade. Not many of us, I don't know if you did, if you had any inkling, when we saw Minkah Fitzpatrick for Jalen Ramsey, and then you find out Jonnu Smith's part of it, I mean, that just shocked most people. Did it shock you?
Well, I knew they were open to listening to Minkah, but they were not shopping Minkah Fitzpatrick. So, you know, to deal one of your core guys, a guy who has been here since 2019, one of your big three, I think it's a step that was rarely made under Kevin Colbert. I think this is another difference with Omar Khan. He is willing to move on from guys who aren't producing. And for the last 2 years, Minkah Fitzpatrick had 2 interceptions in both years, and he was set to count $23.3 million against the cap.
I mean, I think Terrell Austin and everybody would make the excuse, well, it's the system. We want him to keep a lid on it. If he doesn't get the splash plays, that's okay. We want him to mitigate big plays. But the interesting thing to me was this trade indicated that they were not going to re-sign him. He was going to enter last year of his contract next spring, and instead of like having the debate that we've been having about TJ Watt now for 2 or 3 months, they obviously decided, you know what, we're not going to pay. He's not worth $23 million to us, and we're not going to re-sign him. So let's just get what we can. They maximize value, and then Chris, I'm sure that you guys were talking about this all week, but to me, it crystallized what the plan is, which is like 2025 is just its own thing. It has nothing to do with what happens in 26 and beyond. And now the plan sort of makes sense. But, whether it's going to work or not is another issue.
Well, I think it's a one-off year, like you're saying, and they're going to throw it at the wall with Rodgers and see what happens. Ramsey's another huge personality, and I think we know locally that Tomlin doesn't always have the most luck getting those guys to buy in fully. It's gone poorly with Melvin Ingram, the second or third go-round with James Harrison. So whether he can keep Ramsey kind of focused on task at hand will be interesting. Ray, and you guys both obviously, Ray especially, but you guys both cover this team and you're in there more than I am, and I just could not process this trade without thinking, man, we saw in Hard Knocks, Minkah and Mike are like peas in a pod. He's the extension of Mike on the field. I'm not saying they had a personal blow-up or falling out, but there had to have been professionally some sort of difference of opinion because Omar makes the aggressive move. He's not making it if Mike is pounding the table saying, no, I have plans, like I need this guy this year. The fact that Mike would have had guys to tacitly sign off on this for it to happen, I think is a very noteworthy thing, given what we always heard about Minkah's relationship.
I think sometimes when you have 2 personalities like that, when things do go sour, and it's gone sour for Minkah personally, individually on the field.
Yep.
Sometimes a change of scenery is good for him, and I think it could be good for Mike Tomlin and the team. And the one nice thing about Jalen Ramsey, he is more versatile than Minkah Fitzpatrick.
He is very physical.
But there's
as
also a reason he's going to 4 different teams now, right? There's got to be something there.
It's a monster personality. It is a monster, massive personality.
That's a different part of the debate, but he could play in the slot, he could play outside, and he could play free safety. Minkah was your deep center fielder. That was about it. He was very good at it, but he didn't do a lot of it.
I do think as long as Ramsey's bought into the concept here, people will like him because he's nasty. He's mean, he's physical, he's big, he's not afraid to try to hit people. Like if you're worried about a corner who's willing to tackle, he will come up and try to put the lumber to somebody. And so I do think there could be a nice honeymoon period here is what I'm saying. If he's still got his legs and he's playing like we've all seen him play, people will like him.
But Minkah's a little, I mean, Ray knows this because we've been around him a lot. He's a little detached from the rest of the team. I would not, you don't go to Minkah to get the pulse of kind of what's going on. Minkah, from the day he got here, I mean, Nick Saban, if Nick Saban was creating a player in a lab, he would create a player like Minkah Fitzpatrick. And this guy was all business, and it bothered him that there were guys that he played with, some of the other 10 guys on the field, that didn't approach the job with the same professionalism, the same thoughtfulness.
Will, who could that have been? Because he's sharing the field, just for the record. Like you say that, it perks my ears up. TJ Watt's an all-business guy. Cam Hayward's an all-business guy. When Landon Roberts was here, the tooth chipper was not out there for fun and games. Like, who were the guys out there that weren't about business?
Well, I mean, I would say, look, KZ's, I love KZ's. He was an interesting dude, but I wouldn't say that this was a guy that was 100%, 110% committed to the work. And I mean, Ray knows this. There were guys in there that there was some maturity issues in general with some portions of the defense,
Okay.
and I think it just bothered Minkah. I mean, you could see it. I mean, he was not mixing it up. He had guys in his corner, and we very rarely did we
But what
see
does
him
that say about
talking
Mike
to
then? If
everybody
Mike's
else.
still like the de facto DC, and he's certainly setting the tone in that room from the top down, it's not a great look, I would say, for the coach if his coach on the field extension's like gripping the steering wheel because he's mad.
To Will's point, sometimes with Minkah it was to the nth degree. He studied more than anyone. He was in the film room more than anyone. And it's not naming names, but not everyone in that locker room approaches the job in the same way. And I think sometimes, as Will said, that can be a problem.
Real quick, I have a minute. Omar Khan gets an extension. You like it or not?
I like it because it says, you know what, the team understands what this year is, and they're letting it. Really, he's going to be judged on what happens on 26 going forward.
He was the GM in 2022, but he did not pick Kenny Pickett. Now it's his job to go find that franchise quarterback.
Biggest thing he has to do is two things, really. Do that, come up with a franchise quarterback, and get in the playoffs and win.
He's put his mark on this team to one degree or another. It's obvious that he operates differently than Kevin did, but the 2 first-round picks that he did make, big question still, the ones who have played so far, injury in one case, underperformance in the other. Yes, Bob, find the quarterback and you are the hero GM. Fail to find the quarterback, oh, buddy, there are going to be
the cycle keeps
there are
going
going to be some impatient people around town to say that.
It may take a few
mildly.
years to figure out if that's the guy or not. We'll find out. The expectation for those quarterbacks is to come in and play immediately if you're that good, and we'll see where they move because they'll probably have to move up to do it. When we come back, we're going to talk about the Pirates, who set history marks again last week for the good, this week for the not so good. We'll get into that and more when we continue right here on the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown. All right, scoreless in Seattle. You know that movie? Well, we saw it today when the Pirates go 3 straight games without scoring after they shut out the St. Louis Cardinals in the same manner. So, Chris, when you look at this team, it's historic in so many ways. We went through a 43-4 stretch. Everybody was saying, wow, this is awesome. And then immediately they throw cold water all over it. And Paul Skeens is once again a no-decision guy despite a 1.73 ERA. So what do? They got a trade deadline coming up. They got to do something here at some point to get bats.
Bob, if it was acceptable decorum on a show like this, I'd reach out and fist bump you because what did we say on the Nightly Sports Call this past week? It's just a 6-game run.
Is.
Almost any team has one, guys, in any season. Almost no matter how bad you are, you'll
Marlins
have
just had one.
a 8 or 9-game run. Yeah, you'll have like a 3 front of competence.
You know?
Exactly. And the only thing that made the 6-game run noteworthy is, oh my God, this impotent offense scored 43 runs and held down the other team. It was just the margin of victory and how easy they made it look. I mean, this should be a crashing return to earth for everybody involved here. Paul Skeens is going to go 5-11 and win the Cy Young with a 1.60 ERA.
I love it. That'll be the first
But I
time
mean,
ever.
this should though. There were people I think like starting to go like, oh, should we hope? Yeah. No. You trade all your assets. You seriously try to trade Keller if the right return is there. But Will, I don't know about you. Even as I say that out loud and try to sound real authoritative, I'm like, do I want Ben Cherington making those deals? I don't. The answer is hard no.
But he's going to do it, though.
I know.
But look, the Nats
just fired Rizzo. Thank you.
Rizzo and their
Thank
manager
you.
today. So like, and the draft was next week. So like, obviously
it's the scouting director's draft too.
The Nats have a plan in place. You know, it's just for me, it's just this. They had a 2% chance if they had gone 7-2 on this trip, and you think, okay, well maybe, right? But obviously, look, okay, well now it's over, and just trading Keller, like I could, if you get you need a proven, you don't need a guy. Don't worry about controllable years, because Ben, like you got this year, and maybe if you're lucky, you get next year. You need to win. Don't worry about controllable years. That could be the next guy that has that job's problem, right? So I would trade. Don't worry about that. That's the thing.
But again, we just don't have any
blow
reason.
up his MO and really do something unlike.
Ray, it's like what reason do we have faith that he'll get that player Will's talking about?
Well, that's true, but it can't just be Keller. It should be Bednar. It should be Santana. And it can't be for someone who is a high A prospect or even a double A. This guy has to be on the precipice.
Has to be guys who would be in the majors if they weren't blocked by that team's other players.
Yeah, but which player will bring that? Of all these guys,
Keller-
there are guys
Keller
on
should bring it. Bednar
Keller
should bring it.
because he has the years, and I think everybody talks about his salary. To me, that's an attractive salary for a
if
starting
it is.
pitcher.
It
It is.
Could I interest the Yankees in a lightly used Ke'Bryan Hayes, bat barely used, glove reasonably heavily used? I mean, you could get some of the, like Hayes to the Yankees. They have tons of bats in that lineup. They need somebody that doesn't have a shovel for a glove at one of their positions. So
His dad won a World Series there.
He caught the last out too. So I mean, I keep going back. It's such a reductive opinion, and so I regret putting it out there. I don't want the guy in the chair right now to have any say-so. I want him to be, this is bad to say, it's mean, unemployed. He shouldn't be employed. Will brought it up. The Nationals are in similar straits. They didn't feel like they had to keep those guys around. Why should the Pirates? Why deal in half measures? The time for bold, decisive action across the board was yesterday.
And if you think about it, the Nats are a year behind the Pirates in terms of their building process, right? Because it was really in 21 that they sort of blew it up and started over.
But if hypothetically he's still here, he's making the call, what do you expect him to do? Is he out to save his job?
He should be. And look, your shelf life with Skeens is still what you got this year, next year, and probably the year after.
Maybe,
you have to
maybe.
win. You have to win now. There's no point in getting. To Ray's point, they're number 7 overall prospect for the Dodgers, and who's in.
They have a great
right
pitching
now.
staff. They really do, and potentially very good. One of the best.
And their
National
issues
League,
were
right?
their issues last year are their issues this year. I was looking it up the other day. They have scored fewer runs than everybody but the White Sox and the Rockies.
They can't develop power and they can't develop hitters, period.
But you could afford to trade Keller because you got Chandler on the come, and Jared Jones should be back next year at some point.
And Oviedo, hopefully, if he can get healthy.
You feel that there's reason for confidence that they can develop starting pitching, and you can find relief pitching growing on a tree out back in any baseball city. So find hitters, which they can't. They cannot find hitters. I remember, Bob. We all remember Ron Wright from the Braves. They're going to get their power-hitting first baseman 30 years ago, and it hasn't worked.
The names come off. There's so many of them.
It's horrifying.
It is, but he's going to make the deal if he has to make the deal. Who do you think of all these players? And I would include Brian Reynolds in this. He has 5 years left on a contract, Ray. To me, that's and you can argue whether he's worth $100 million. But that's a number that people are going to be fine with, most teams that have a lot of money. Would you trade him, knowing that he's one of your only offensive weapons?
I would definitely trade him, but I don't think he's going to bring the most return. I think Keller, with his arm, is the most attractive player on this team to a contender. But yes, I would definitely trade. He's hitting what, 230? 228?
You'd be trading at low value
yards.
with him, but I'm worried about how he'll age. And the one thing I would want to see is if Connor Griffin rips up the minor leagues and looks like the rare Pirates hitting prospect that actually is precocious, bring him up when he's 20. There's no law on the books against it.
I totally agree with that, especially paired with Skeens, right? Would they do that?
Yeah, but I think, what's interesting, Reynolds has a no-trade clause to a handful of teams, and some of those teams have, they're really good teams. It's the Yankees, and it's the Dodgers and the Padres, right? So what are your options in trading him? I mean, it's bizarre, but knowing Reynolds, I'm not surprised that he doesn't want to go to a big market because he is just.
San Diego's not a big market.
Yeah, but it's a lot of big personalities in that clubhouse, though. A lot of big.
So he just likes losing with comfort now that he's made his money. What are we doing here?
But I also think though, professional hitter, 14 million a year, 15 million a year, whatever it is. I think that guy is going to be a productive DH.
Fine, trade him to the Kansas City Royals, who I think believe they can contend with Bobby Witt Jr. as their centerpiece. Trade him to the Royals. He'll love the barbecue and the quiet nights in Kansas City.
We're due for a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the Penguins, who are a similar situation in that they are looking at a season where you're not sure where it's going to go after 3 straight non-playoff seasons. What has to change? Will it change? Will anything change? Coming up next. All right, we're talking about the Penguins. Also this week, they had their draft. And unlike in previous years where I think the Penguins had 3 first-round picks in the last 10 years, they were busy trading them away, trying to win, and they did. Now comes the mortgage time. You got to pay off that stuff, and they finally have a lot of picks. And I want to ask you guys, Chris, start with you. They had 3 number ones. That hasn't happened in a long time. Credit to Kyle Dubas for maneuvering, but these guys are not going to be around for a long time. What do they have this year that makes you think they're going to be a playoff team? A lot of people have said because you have the star power that they still should be able to compete, and I disagree with that altogether. But where are they right now in this whole rebuild?
They're much closer to bottoming out and being one of the 3 worst teams in the NHL than they are making some hilarious surprise. What was that movie with all the old guys, Wild Hogs, where they're all still hanging out and having fun? Yeah. No, they're not going to make some surprising run. Crosby's still at the top of his game. That'll put butts in seats. Malkin faded badly last year. That hurt to watch because I'm a huge fan of his and the way he's played. Letang had a horrible year for the most part. They have names that are recognizable if they maintain Carlson on the roster and they can't find somebody to take them. Okay, they got him. They don't have a good team.
They also traded their backup goalie, which makes you wonder, Tristan Jarry, that's it? There's not.
He didn't show enough for anybody to say, hey, we'll take this guy in his $5 million and change contract. I mean, if you're not going to be good, and I mean, I think that's what the flare was sent up by Kyle Dubas this week. Is like we're full bore. He'll never call it a rebuild. He'll also never put a timetable on it because the second he says it's going to take 3 years.
It puts pressure on him to get it done in there.
But this, to me, is him saying we are not close. And I'm actually sort of okay with that. If they can play defense, that's the thing. If this new coaching staff can get, like, some of these guys to play defense and play responsibly, they can be competitive. But are they going to be willing to play tight checking, low-scoring games for 6 months? I just don't see it.
They're almost at the point. Remember how the Blackhawks won like 3 cups in 5 years?
Yep.
And they were really good, and then they got really bad. The difference is Sid will never allow them to become really bad, so they do get another number 1 overall pick. That's sort of where they are right now. They're just kind of stuck in this existence where they have the star talent, but they don't have the mid-level players.
No, and he's going to have to put up with a lot of that in this coming season. Gavin McKenna's the guy everybody's talking about, but it would take.
You'd have to be number 1. You're going to have to pick number 1 to get him. Right. And the other thing is, too, there's this weird dynamic when your best player is also still at the top of his game and he's the reason you're still going to be marketable. You might have to consider making trades that would make him unhappy. If you can find a trade partner for Brian Rust now that his no trade clause is expired, well, that's like Sid's guy.
Would you do it?
Yes, because I would say Sid has shown like an immense amount of loyalty, and I think if you did it in the right way, respectfully, you approach him if you're Dubas and say, I'm not trying to make you mad or jam you up here, but we think you can be still great for years and you could be the part of the next contender.
Well, I don't know. The flip side of that is, though, I think the way his contract is structured, the actual money due goes down considerably after this season. Considerably. So the cap number stays the same.
But he's also a valuable asset.
Yeah, but I mean, I think like maybe if the season goes really badly, maybe they do trade him as a sign of respect. We want you to finish your career with a team that's going to be super successful. I mean, I give that like a 8.7% chance of happening.
But if he doesn't want that to happen, I think he gets the shot call this. If he doesn't want it to happen, it's not going to happen. If he wants to
if Gino's gone and Letang's thinking about going to Montreal, or maybe he gets shipped to Montreal during the season. There's nobody. What's that song? The Allman Brothers. Nobody left to run with anymore. Like that's sort of where he would be at, and he's almost there.
Well, we'll see. It's going to be interesting. Again, looks like a full-blown rebuild with no timeline involved in this. When we come back, we're going to ask a question about hot dog consumption. That's next, right here on the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown. All right, it's not often we talk about hot dog consumption, but we are today because it is the 4th of July weekend, and Joey Chestnut returned. I found this particularly interesting, Ray Fittipaldo, because I seldom bet on hot dog eating competitions, but I was inspired to think that Joey Chestnut would go over a certain amount. And they had the line amazingly set at 70.5. He comes in at 70. Number 1, I never thought they'd have betting lines on hot dog. But number 2, people were emailing us talking about he is an athlete. Is he an athlete?
You find that on DraftKings?
Is that maybe Luis Ortiz? That's what got him bounced.
I was going to say, did he throw a hot dog in the dirt when it looked like he was going to go
maybe
over?
there was a reversal as he was getting close.
Did the wise guys get to him here? What are we talking about?
Sometimes on ESPN 8, you have like fishermen, like fishing is a sport. He's more of a athlete than a fisherman, but not much else.
Ooh, right.
Is he more of an athlete than a golfer who would walk and carry? If I walk and carry my own bag for 18 holes, better athlete than Joey Chestnut for that specific thing? Okay.
I mean, if you listen to what they put their bodies through to get themselves prepared, if you've read stories about Joey Chestnut or Kobayashi and these other competitive eaters, I mean, it is an athlete-like mentality in terms of getting their body prepared for this.
How do you do that?
If there was an Uncrustable eating competition right here, boy, I will take you down, Joey Chestnut. I will.
So
the
wait a
gauntlet
minute.
has been thrown.
So when I was funneling beers in college 18 years ago or thereabouts, did that make me an athlete because I was quaffing the cheapest light beer I could in the shortest amount of time?
Or eating amount of wings,
right, like Donnie Football, or somebody. If he's eating 48 wings in 10 minutes, does that make him an athlete? Are we going to put his bust in Cooperstown or something?
But you weren't dipping hot dog buns in the beer. That's
I think the thing that is the most close to like high-level athletic performance, which can at times be unpleasant, is they got to eat those soggy, wet buns. That is disgusting.
Yeah,
so
if
it's very
throw
gross.
anything up, you want to throw that up. All right. Do I have a minute, Steve? Do I have 1 minute? Okay, real quick. TJ Watt, you mentioned him earlier, so I wasn't going to bring this up because we talk about it ad infinitum. What's your gut say? What percentage? I have a minute left.
I mean, 90% chance that he stays.
Right.
Is that because that's his jersey number, Will?
Yes, but also because all this smoke about like teams are calling, that's his side trying to drum up.
Right.
I mean, come on, that's another.
Ray, what do you say?
My gut says he stays, but I think the agent might orchestrate a holdout that might get a little bit of play.
Make more or less than Myles Garrett?
He will make more guaranteed money.
Chris?
I think it's probably like 95% he's here. But again, if this team really has its sights set on 2026 and beyond, I would be open for business on him. I don't care how much you think he's like a one-helmet guy. You should have no sacred cows, especially when they have as many career playoff wins with the team as I do.
Yeah, so that's the situation we'll be following, I'm sure, into training camp and beyond. Who knows how long that's going to go. Hold in, hold out, we'll find out. Meanwhile, if you're in the market for a new vehicle, don't settle for anything less than #1 Cochran's Kia, clearly better car buying experience. Enjoy exclusive ClearCut pricing where you get their most competitive offer up front. You can also take advantage of exceptional lease and finance rates and choose from a lineup of nearly 200 new models. Experience clearly better car buying only at #1 Cochran Kia. That's in-store or online, cochrankia.com. All right, it's been fun. We are done. Thanks for joining us on this #1 Cochran Showdown Sunday night. We'll do it again next Sunday. Every Sunday, we're here at 11:35. Thanks to Chris Mueller, Ray Fittipaldo, and Will
Wanda
Graves.
King.
And
Shout out
Wanda,
Wanda
of course. That's going to do it. Have a good week. We'll see you again next Sunday night right here at 11:35 as we get set for training camp in just a couple of weeks. Who thought that was going to happen so fast? But it is here almost.